Welcome to the cast pod, and the track you're hearing is by BLANKFIELD, and it's from a Maku game. I can't remember which one it is, it's either 2 or 3. I'd say 3 because it does sound quite modern. And the track is called Yesterday's Tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Yesterday's Tomorrow. It's fucking incredible. The early BLANKFIELD stuff I liked, but it was a bit sloppy. But when I heard about the soundtracks originally for a Game Ranks video, unfortunately, because they were mentioning it on one of their games of the weeks or things, I think it's back in 2018 or something, maybe even 2019, I was just in love with this soundtrack the moment I heard it. It's just so fucking good. It reminded me of Periphery, sort of. It didn't at the time, but it does now, after having heard everything Periphery has. It's just insanely good. And some of their other stuff, like their covers, and I'm not sure if there are originals, but these are originals, technically speaking. BLANKFIELD is just amazing. If you haven't heard Goodbye yet, you should listen to that too. It's so fucking fast and heavy. It's actually insane. But yeah, Yesterday's Tomorrow is just amazing. It's like, I'd call it electronic synth metal, but gents. Like the electronic synth gent, because this is literally Periphery with an electric synth, and it sounds so fucking good. Just the composition of the guitars obviously being genty. They got this like really emotional sort of part, and yeah, I need to listen to it again actually. Like, it's that good anyway, I don't mind listening to it again. Yeah, I wouldn't play these songs on repeat if I didn't like them. Yeah, actually it starts with like a lead melody. It goes into another breakdown, and then it's just like lead melody chorusy bit. Yeah, it sounds quite emotional, and after that it goes into like a bridge, I think, or a verse. I'm not too sure about sections, I keep messing them up. Yeah, it sounds very metalcore-y. That bit, it goes into like a sort of quieter bridge, and then into a sort of guitar solo. Yeah, it's just incredible. I absolutely love the Danmaku tracks, Danmaku Unlimited, rather. But yeah, BLANKFIELD doesn't disappoint in that sense. Honestly, one of the best, I think, Japanese metal artists out there. I think it's Japanese. They also go by the name of like War Within, or something. Yeah, BLANKFIELD Bandcamp, because that's where I first heard them, heard the music from. I got to see it. Ooh, that's maybe it's no. I got to see it from Japan. Yeah, yeah. I love this band. It's just amazing. I definitely recommend you check everything from like, I'd say probably Permutation Suicide onwards, because that's where it sort of starts to get better, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, great band, great track, that's all I could say. So for my life hack / tip, well, it's not really life hack, but rather just a piece of advice, because it actually is very useful. It'll save your skin and it'll save your life as well, probably. So I've been through some trauma before with accidents in the kitchen, and well, twice, but one of them was my own fault really. The other one preventable, and it was with someone else. It wasn't my fault, luckily. But even though it's just a bad situation, but this advice I have is basically to be careful with where you place your fucking things in the kitchen. When you're cooking, make sure the pan handles are away. Make sure you're always wearing an oven glove for picking up things like the oven. And always be careful when you're using an air fryer too, because I got that recently and I do sometimes hit my fingers on the side. But yeah, you need some way to basically let it stand, I think, and then cool down. But the other thing is to not only move handles away, but move things away from the fucking edge. Like, as I said, it goes back to the trauma that I went through as well. Like a younger sibling Especially being scarred because of a hot drink on the side where it's way too fucking close to the edge and they're going to grab it. Like, that's going to happen, I'm afraid. That's what kids do. And, you know, even then, if it's not kids, it'll be an adult, and then you just pour it, hit like a coffee mug the wrong way on the edge of the kitchen counter, and suddenly you have to go to hospital because your cork or vagine has literally been scarred. Like, boy, that must fucking suck. Yeah, that's why you move it inwards rather than outwards. Because that's where it should be. Then that way, if it spills, you have time to react, to get away from it. You have time, you also leave it safe for others as well. And others wouldn't be able to do that to you by accident. Like, it's just... I can't believe that people don't do it, honestly. But yeah, literally a skin saving and life saving tip. Because I don't think you ever want to go to hospital for what, I can't remember what degree burns they are. But basically the one where you have to have skin extracted from somewhere else to put it on another place, because that's what happened to my younger sibling. Anyway, hopefully that helps people, and it should really, because it's a no-brainer. I always do it in cooking, whenever I'm putting pans on the stove, especially when there's gas. Like, fucking hell, that's also a dangerous thing. Always make sure the handle is away from not only the edges of the kitchen counter where you walk into it, also make sure it's not over the fucking heat. That's another thing. Because if it's over the heat, it'll get boiling hot, and in some cases it could probably fucking burn or even just melt the handle. So there you go, you got 3 in 1 there. I don't know, something I'm really frustrated with about the houses I've been in so far in my life. It's the fact that they can only have one toilet, usually. Which is not good, honestly, because it is nightmarish. And I say this as someone who developed Crohn's disease around a few years ago. And luckily I was in a 2-toilet house, but even then, I still had to contend for the toilet at times. And people had to as well. And yeah, it just reveals so many problems with how certain houses were built. Because it just causes more problems than it solves. Yeah, 1 toilet isn't enough, but 2 is still better than 1. And that's always the takeaway I have, because speaking about my other experiences, I'm pretty sure in some of the other houses I lived in, my dad, there were like 1 toilet places, and it was stupid design because that essentially meant that we'd struggle to contend for the toilet, as you expect. So that caused too many problems. And it's just increasingly frustrating every time it happens. But then we go on to where I moved out of the 2-toilet house into a place that had 1, not knowing what my problem was with my bowel habits. And that was nightmarish. It was probably the worst place to ever live in a lot of respects there. Because not only did we share 1 bathroom, it was also the toilet as well. And despite my request to add another toilet, it went completely fucking ignored and caused too many problems to count. The place was basically unlivable because of the issues that we have. And the problem is, you got me with Crohn's disease, which I later found out. You got an old guy who can't control his bladder for some fucking reason, and for some reason it's not in a care home, which I think, to be honest, realising that, I think he should have. No, not just the bladder, but just the annoyance that he caused us. It does make me wonder if I would have been fine with this abusive housemate, or as I call him, if he was not there. Because he no doubt sparked a lot of the issues and set off M a lot, because M was I don't know, like the bad type of autistic, which is shit. But I suppose that having this as well, like contending with that, and him as well, M being this real fucking, I don't know, not freak of nature, that's not the right word, but someone who's just so quote unquote intact, in tune with nature maybe, and then just being a complete douchebag with it. It just didn't work out, and it would never work out because of that sort of thing. So it caused way too many fucking problems for us, and we suffered as a result. And because of that, he was also putting like salt in the bathroom, in the bathtub, and bathing in there for like an hour or two, which I then couldn't get into the toilet for. Like, it just got so fucking out of hand. And then, you know, to sort of get on his nerves a bit, I did actually start to turn it on him, basically. I basically just used that time to jerk off in the bathroom, and yeah, might as well. Piss him off, but sure. It was really something that I could do in my room, but it's not as comfortable, I don't think. I don't like touching things after being in the bath. I can't really do showers, unfortunately. I wish I could. I can't, it's too much. And yeah, things obviously got out of hand because of that, and obviously led me to leaving. And then I moved to a place where I had my own toilet, and a lot of the problems had just disappeared. A lot of the stress around that, a lot of pain, it was suddenly gone. And with the hope of getting a bathtub possibly, I don't want a shower, it's too much. Showers are way too uncomfortable. They're fucking hellish. They're designed for people with just neurotypical stuff. Not for me, unfortunately. But yeah, having my own sort of place to do my business has been a fucking saviour. It's just been really nice for me, it has to be said, and that's probably the main reason that I'm staying here rather than moving again, which I was very much considering because of a bunch of the sound issues. I just heard someone walking across the fucking roof. Like, because of the weight, I'm guessing it's like a cat. It's still a bit annoying to hear at times because I just want peace and quiet. That's all I ask for, and then I'm in the middle of the night, I'll be woken up by like a thumping sound, like something like that, if you could hear that. And oops, accidentally cut the recording in half. I press space. For some reason space is like chat. Okay, I'm gonna move that tab sect. But yeah, I'll be woken up by something like that, and it just fucking annoys me. Like, I'm trying to get to sleep here. And luckily noise cancelling works, but I don't even know how the fuck they get on the roof. That's the crazy thing. They're not supposed to be able to. And yet they're able to. I don't see much of an entrance, it's just weird. So I'm a bit confused about that. Might be something wrong with the cats, actually, now I think about it, but I don't know. Yeah, but thankfully having my own toilet has been a blessing. It's been so nice for me, it goes without saying. Because I can now just go from like Final Fantasy 14 here, or just, sorry if you're not seeing any video, it's just, I'm doing all work. But I can go from my hobby, pause it quickly, throw off my headphones, the headphones pause the video for me, thankfully, because they're fucking designed by a goat, the greatest of all time, and then I can just rush to the toilet and get my business done, then hopefully within about 6 minutes, which it usually takes, on average, I'll be done, I'll be back here doing my hobby. So yeah, that's really the benefit of it. And to have a bathroom as well would be great, but unfortunately because the old guy's back, it's causing a lot of issues for everyone here, really. Even just the people who just come around to check on us. But he's just so problematic. Because there isn't a bathroom yet, well, my own bathroom rather, there are just too many issues. And we just don't get along properly because of it. It's extremely frustrating. So yeah, I think, yeah, all the world's problems probably can be solved if you put people in the right places. And this guy, not in the right place. I'm definitely not in the right place, I will say. It's the only option I've got though, that's the problem. But this other guy has options. So I don't really fucking understand what's going on here. If I had to guess, it's like incompetence and neglect. It's just causing this issue for us. like, I don't really know how to address this. I've already brought it up years ago, and I brought it up again recently, and it's like I get ignored. I've said everything I fucking can. I've said what these problems are, and you've just ignored them. You know what the fucking solution is. It's so stupid. Fuck's sake. The crazier thing is, like, in the last house, because I could keep in my bladder and my bowels somehow. It's a fucking miracle I could keep my bowels in, honestly. It caused me a lot of pain and suffering. And it also probably was my issues, but yeah, the biggest problem there is because of that, because we had to contend for the one toilet, people went in the garden, which is right in my fucking face because my bedroom is facing it. And then when I open the windows, and sometimes of the day when it's raining it's worse, I think, I just smell just a stench of piss because they've had to go in the fucking garden. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. That's what seems so embarrassing about living with some of these people. There's absolutely no manners or even respect, not even for the neighbours, because the neighbours know to fucking smell it and see it. You just get a bunch of fucking gross things here. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, the amount of neglect and ignorance just astounds me in this sort of place. It wouldn't be a problem if they just fucking listened. Yeah, and as I said, I'm encountering this scenario again. It's just terrible this time. Yeah, I just encountered the scenario again. It's like one of a few handfuls that have happened. It's like, I'm in a bath. Fuck off. Go away, do your own thing. Go in the garden if you have to, if you must. No, even then, there's just so much incompetence with, unfortunately, the older person that he just doesn't bother learning anything. And people end up having to pick up the pieces in the end. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't mind helping, but to this extent, to where you're not even allowing yourself to learn, it's just fucking gross. Like, I do feel like by this older housemate I am being abused to an extent. And the neglect from the people who support us is very much causing that as well. It's enabling it. So they're enablers of this issue. I don't know if they're fucking listening, but at this point, you should. And you should be scared. Because this shit shouldn't be allowed. It's your job to fucking look after his house and the tenants, and yet you're just fucking ignoring us. Hello? Like, you see the issues here? Have you ever lived with us? Like, it just shows so much fucking ignorance and neglect. Jesus Christ. I better move on before I have a stroke or a heart attack or both. A strong attack or a hoke. I don't know. Let's move on there. So there's a bit of I guess controversy on myself and just a section of YouTube in general that I've never really liked. And it'll be controversial because no doubt people won't like my take on this, and I've got a mint in my mouth, so excuse me if I sound a bit weird. But this is weirder. I have a massive problem with the sort of existence of basically fan dub content, or abridged content as it tended to be called. And we're talking about people who use like clips from animes or cartoons or even live action in some cases, or rare cases though, and they just dub over them with their own sort of script. I fucking detest these. Like, seriously. They're not really that funny, and at the same time it's just like, I don't know if I want to do that to that sort of thing. You know, it's a bit like dubbing over One Piece to suddenly goon over Carrot or someone, even though she's underage. But anyway, but it's so fucking weird. It's like, what? Like, when did this even become a thing? Who even thought it was a good idea? So I just don't think it's that creative. You can write it to mean anything. And the ones that I've seen, well, not creative, and these have like, what, hundreds of thousands of views, millions probably. And every time I see one, I'm like, nah. But there is one aspect that makes it far, far worse. And especially with AI now, it's going to get worse, but I haven't thought of that. But yeah, AI can literally make it worse, make it actually sound like the real thing. But the thing that's actually really bad about it is people don't even label it as such. You know, sometimes it's just like a clip from a show, and it's just them voicing over it. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing calling this well title that would sound like it's from the show, and no like dub or fan dub or whatever in the title to say it isn't. So it just leaves me confused. I'm not sure what to think about it. Because I've been misled there. It's not fun. So I don't know. I've just always found that aspect of YouTube very weird. Yeah, in the bad sort of way. And also it's not always that creative, because I'm no doubt that people dubbed things in a very fucking sort of collar tugging way. Yeah, where it's like they dub out something to do with a character's skin colour, or they do something about, I don't know, sexuality, and it gets really fucking bizarre. You know, not so much controversial, but it can be. You know, it can be discriminatory as well. So that's why I think we need to sort of phase this stuff out. You know, I was watching Simon's Pond videos for, you know, Jingle Jam recently. Actually, it's just a stream today, actually. One of them. And it was a good set of videos, actually, for once. I've always been a bit mixed with Simon's choice of videos and that, but this one was actually kind of funny. And also less controversial, because unfortunately a lot of the animal clips are a bit like they're either really depressing if you know, but other times it's like, I guess it's kind of funny, kind of adorable as well. But yeah, one of the clips was a sort of fan of the very old Sonic movie, between Sonic Friends and Metal Sonic, and basically it's sort of making it relevant to the current conversation about calling AI clankers, and it's very bizarre. But also I just don't give a shit. It wasn't very funny, really. I didn't laugh at any point in it. It just wasn't funny. I don't find the humour in this sort of thing. I'm not sure if that's just a me thing, or if it's just the fact that it's just very poorly fan-dubbed. But I don't know. That's the thing, I guess it's not that much creativity in it. There's more creativity in a fan fiction, I'd say. And even then, that's probably more enjoyable. So anyway, let's move on. So I want to talk about a thing that's also a sort of life advice thing, but also a topic. I'm talking about things like addiction and bad habits. And I wanted to talk about specifically about cycles, and this is something I've realised just earlier. And I wrote down on my notepad, first you break the cycle, then you refuse the cycle starting again. I think this is really important to understanding how these things work, as well. I've never got into drugs or even smoking, because I know that once I enter that cycle, I'll have a hard time breaking out. And when I break out, there's going to be a cycle of also trying to not get into that cycle. Like, there's a bunch of fucking things that lead up to this, and yes, it is a cycle. That is what all this is, pretty much. It flows from one state to another, and sometimes quite rapidly. So to explain that, my state with getting out the cycle of drinking, first as a taste, and then you'll see social implications of it, like not being as socially apt, because it's not inept, it's socially adept. That's probably what it is, actually. But also just so many implications of it around it as well, and you know, I don't need those. And trying to break out of that, it wasn't difficult, but it was just quite taxing on my mind as well, because I used to enjoy drinking. It goes without saying, really. The taste of it, the flavour, and sometimes the feel as well, like the burn that is leaving my throat. Sort of like a nice chili burn, which you can actually get from chilies, obviously. But yeah, you can get that elsewhere, and that's important to realise. You don't actually need it from alcohol. Some of these effects you can literally get from other things. Harder to find, I will admit, but far better for you and far better for other people. And that's what helps me break out of that cycle as well. So that's where that really starts to be a thing, and this can apply to anything. It can apply to any sort of bad habit you have. I don't know. For example, like let's say that people bite their nails. Like, yeah, I know that people can bite their nails sometimes. Yeah, even adulthood. I used to, believe it or not, as a child anyway, but I don't as an adult. I never did. That's the weird thing. And because I never had that habit to begin with, I never had to break it. So that's another thing. But I think with breaking the cycle with that, you need to realise that it sort of damages you. It allows bacteria to get underneath your nails, and then that gets extremely dangerous. So you need to be careful with that. And also if you realise how dangerous it is for other people, because if you use your nails in like cooking, for example, or I would recommend eco-friendly gloves for that, but if you use it in other places, I don't know, for some reason you put your nails in things that people hold or whatever, put your nails on something, and it just sort of causes problems for people. So I think when you realise there's a consequence to it, not just for yourself but others, it can help you become less attached to it. So that's sort of breaking out the cycle. But then there's the next step up, which is essentially breaking basically refusing the cycle starting again. So it's like breaking another cycle. And yeah, it's a difficult one for sure. But what helps me is I think about all the consequences around alcohol, because this also came about with me quitting alcohol a few months ago. And yes, it has helped to realise that when you drink this stuff, it's actually got consequences, real world consequences for people, for social implications, for many different things. And it's just like, yeah, and even then, when you realise that there's an issue, like, for example, offsetting it, so grounding something to alcohol, that in itself becomes an issue. And so if you never start that cycle, you're probably better off. It's better to not ground things to something that can damage you. You know, it's like how I handle my anger issues, and this is actually probably a good example. I used to be very much a physically angry person, and it was partly because of my dad. He was physically angry, and I'm pretty sure he took it out on me sometimes. That's the weird thing about it. But as I sort of grew up and realised that that's something I could do, it sort of got out of hand. I wasn't hitting people, luckily. You know, it sort of started when I was playing like Just Cause 3 on the PC. It's actually a true story here, by the way. I was playing on Steam, and it was poorly optimised on my PC. It just barely fucking run. I was getting so angry with some of the side missions as well, which were laggy, so basically unplayable. And I just ended up trying to find a way to cope, to find a way to not be hitting my PC and breaking things. Because one of the moments that really solidified it is I got so fucking angry I broke my keyboard. Like the spacebar stopped working, the keys fell off of it. Like hit it so fucking hard it almost broke my disc as well. Well, I'm pretty sure there's actually like a crack in the disc if I'm not mistaken. This was back in when it released actually. It's probably the best landmark for that date even. Yeah, that's when I realised I needed to change my anger issue. So obviously I broke out of that cycle and tried to train myself to offset it to something else, like using my voice. And just trying to avoid touching things, and I started to train myself to do that. I started repeating it even when I wasn't angry, and just constantly repeated it, and eventually when it came to the time that I was having a meltdown or just being angry in general, it became more of a sort of voice controlled thing rather than physically controlled. And then I have to realise with how the sort of things work in my life at the moment as well, when I'm tempted to break things, I have to think like of the real consequences, like how much money it costs, how much damage it could do, even some of the unintended consequences that can happen. It's kind of like if I was to like smash my keyboard now, several things would happen. First thing is it would probably break my keyboard. Second thing is it would break my desk. Third thing is it would break everything on the fucking desk because it falls off. Almost break it anyway. That's why I don't want to do it. And that's why I don't want to start this cycle again. That's why I don't want to appeal to it. And the same with alcohol. It's similar in a sense. It's about not giving into this thing that just breaks you. It even breaks other people for that matter. So yeah, I think that's that topic. I wanted to share this because I think it's quite interesting. It's also kind of important too. It applies to a lot of different things. It's surprising, not even games. It can definitely work for. So I do recommend this sort of strategy, like break the cycle and break the approaching of the cycle, if you could see it. It's like not engaging yourself with that sort of thing. Yeah, anyway, I better move on. So, something recently that annoyed me, that really fucking annoyed me. It's going through like YouTube shorts and stuff, and just to kill some time, which I shouldn't be doing anyway because I have stuff to do. But this short came up which really bothered me, and it's basically someone promoting, even though it wasn't direct, but it very much did promote it. It's like promoting dog breeding and puppy buying, which is just scummy. That's objectively a terrible thing to even promote, because as much as everyone likes fucking baby animals, they're adorable. Like, not every one of them should be domesticated for that matter, but dog scan, cat scan, what? That's weird, sort of. Oh, okay, that's weird. Yeah, but it sort of relates to a wider issue, because you shouldn't be buying animals for that matter. It literally said buy a golden retriever puppy. What the fuck? That's just really fucked up, because as we know, dog breeders aren't ethical people at all. And even then, if they claim to be ethical, it's not always guaranteed. So you're always risking it, and you're also incentivizing that behaviour. That's why it's a bad thing. And then you have to remember that there are plenty of dogs who need fucking rescuing, like from Peter, for example, who have to put them down because too many people give them dogs that they don't want. Or cats, for that matter. I'm pretty sure there's cats as well. It's like any animal as well. Like, it's not specifically or strictly to do with that. You know, it's because people are just stupid and they don't think to give them somewhere else, give them to someone else for that matter. And it just puts them in danger. And then there's people who just think that, oh, Peter Pan's not going to do anything to do with them, even though you could probably adopt a dog from them. Like, you're fucking kidding me, you're sending these dogs to death because you just dislike Peter, even though it's been proven that the dislike towards Peter is actually astroturfing and pretty much billionaire blowjobs, basically. That's what people are doing. I've already talked about this in a previous episode, I think, so also check that out if you're interested. But yeah, I'm fed up of seeing that kind of shit, to be honest. It's so fucking annoying. I just don't want to see this crap, and even then, it's important to note that people shouldn't be buying dogs, they should be adopting, not shopping for them. And my experience with adopting dogs and rescuing them has been great, really. And even then, it's like, because as much as people want a puppy, there are dogs who are older who don't have companionship, who are much less fucking fortunate, and you're willing to put your self-satisfaction first over a dog's fucking broken heart. Like, how is that not animal abuse? It's like emotional abuse, for sure. But Jesus fucking Christ. It just baffles me. So, but this isn't actually the thing I wanted to talk about, rather it's like a more global issue, more universal in that sense. Because my problem with a lot of these YouTube shorts that I just find every now and then, and I've seen it with like people who set up like fireworks or something, or break their motorbike for some reason, some stupid fucking reason it got recommended that. I'll categorise it as something called Scumcore. Because we're talking about people who are just... actually I wrote down something here, it's probably easier to read this. Basically a term I'm coining for showing the worst types of people or actions by people. Yeah, I think it's fair to make that judgment and to call them out on that, hence Scumcore. It's literally, that's what it is. It's scumbags, scummy actions being promoted, and obviously because it's core, I guess it's like an influx or compilation of it, like just everywhere. That's what's fucking crazy about this. And I just hate this shit, really. And the thing is as well, a lot of the time when people are peddling this idea of like, oh, let's give you some utopia, like buy a puppy, or even just like some sort of superfood that they advertise, and they say like, oh, let's give you, like, a puppy will give you a lot of joy, and the superfood will give you every vitamin and mineral you need ever. And they'll say this idea that again it's utopian, like you don't have to worry, you have this convenience here and just the entertainment in dog's case, or even just satisfaction, as I said. But in the end, it's like false advertising, and they're only there to take your money. They're not there to serve you this thing that they promised. They're only there to take your money, and this has been proven consistently throughout just modern era industrialization, basically capitalism. They don't care. You know, I'm pretty sure that certain animal places will be willing to even like breed elephants, for example, and sell them to people just because they can make a profit out of it. Like, that's the danger of this shit. This is why people shouldn't support it. And there's also all these issues with like obviously raising them and stuff. This is the point. This is why I'm calling it Scumcore. It's absolute fucking absurdity and dangerousness as well. As I mentioned, when people get bored of some pets, they just give them away, abandon them. Those people shouldn't have pets. You know, if I'm being entirely honest, there should be a legal system that regulates this sort of thing, where people who have pets literally have to go through a process to get rid of them. Because there has to be a legitimate reason. Like, there could be like, as goofy as it sounds, but it could be a legit thing. Dog psychologists, and you have basically this assignment based on what an owner says, or the owner answers, and what the dog does for that matter. And they get this, obviously, like, diagnosis, and they get given the proper treatment. No, if they have to, they can go to another home or just be up for adoption. And that's it. Rather than these idiots abandoning dogs out in the wild, where they already have human companionship as a sort of memory. Yeah, it's just treats them cruelly. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's just ridiculous. Again, I just don't have the words for this. Anyway, I have to stop talking about this because Scumcore gets under my skin. It's unfortunate. So I put my thinking cap on today and I realised something. Why are people more scared of the truth than making actual change? But it also works the other way around. Why are people more scared of making actual change? Not the truth. Like, there's so many weird fucking things with this. I just realised. Because I was thinking, in a animal rights sense, people are just absolutely scared shitless, even those who pretend they're brave about it, to look at something like the Dominion documentary or actual industry practices that animal agriculture employs. And even stuff like dog breeding. Whatever it is. Sorry about that. Can't fix that. Again, buy me a new chair if you don't like it. It got me thinking about how you can actually change people, and I have a strategy of calling out people for what they're doing. And oftentimes it is scapegoating or masking. And so when I call that out, I end up making a more effective point about what I'm arguing. And that tends to be what I do. But then I only just realised this applies to many other topics as well. Now, to the people who are sort of voting far right, literally call them out on this shit. Call them out for masking, call them out for scapegoating, and even just explain that the truth of it, and if you change, the truth becomes more bearable. That's all it takes. So, I forgot where I was. I don't know, emergency toilet breaking on the toilet. Anyway, I think that you need to dismantle these masks and basically tell them what it's actually you'd like. Because the expectation when we think about far-right politics is they think promotion of hatred and getting rid of minorities is going to save our country, stop immigration problems, stop crime even, and even stop some of the things that they already sort of pre-believe, is that a word? I say pre-believed, so something like, I don't know, LGBTQ plus being closely related to paedophilia, which it isn't, because we have evidence of that. We have evidence of straight people being more commonly associated, so yeah, but that sort of ties into like the reality aspect, but the expectations there, that they think these problems will disappear when you get rid of these other things. And also the expectation is that they won't have to conform to these changes as well. That's the other thing. And I don't see many people talking about this point. Because I have no doubt that a lot of the things is like getting around change, and when we talk about things like pronouns, for example, the expectation is that if they get rid of LGBTQ plus people, they'll get rid of pronouns. Problem is, that isn't how it works. And it isn't even really a strictly LGBTQ plus thing either. Because people are misgendering women all the time, and people are misgendering men all the fucking time. Like, it's absolutely absurd. I remember as a kid, I went to McDonald's, weird sort of tangent, and I was quite fat, but I also had some, quite a head of hair, because I tend to have that anyway. And in my Happy Meal, I got a My Little Pony toy instead of a Hot Wheels, because I wanted a Hot Wheels. Thanks, McDonald's. I guess I'm a girl now. Jesus Christ, that was embarrassing. Luckily I was only like 10 years old, I think, or 9. But anyway, it still reveals a lot of problems, because the expectation is that things will supposedly get better with making all these changes. But the reality, and this is based on completely unbiased evidence, when you sort of think that, oh, like the expectation is, by the way, it's going to solve all these problems, it's going to stop crime, it's going to stop these other things, and the reality is actually that you get oppressed with them, because it isn't just these minorities being oppressed or even pronouns being oppressed, it's yourself as well, because it directly impacts you too. Because it could be a family member that's affected, but it could also be the general population, and then suddenly because all LGBTQ plus people are now illegal to exist, which, by the way, they can't change it. That's an important thing to know here in the reality. Suddenly, crime rates go up, criminal offences go up, and prisons are full, like even more so than they already are. So you've just let other people run free who are more dangerous than an LGBTQ plus person, or even someone with pronouns, or even like disabled people, because that's for some reason a new target they have on the far right. It's just absolute stupidity. That's the reality of it. Not to mention dangerous, because that's what it'll do. It will just tear us apart. It'll cause more problems than it's worth. And to actually address these problems, you need to look at the unbiased facts. And these facts often lead back to a progressive/left leaning politics. And the expectation in left leaning politics is also different to the reality as well. It's not entirely the same, but there is differences. The expectation is that if we have inclusion and equality, this includes people who are on the far right, by the way, who are typically against these things. That means we all get better rights. It's a win-win, not a win-lose. And that's the expectation, obviously. And that means things like religion get proper protective rights. It means other minorities that we don't even consider could get better protective rights. And trying to think like economy, maybe immigrants as well, because I forgot to mention that the reality of immigrants is it would just be more of a problem because they're making it worse for immigrants. But yeah, that's on the far right side. But back to the left, the expectations is the immigrant problem would be sort of neutralised. It'd be regulated, and it'd be not much of an issue because if you treat immigrants properly, that will no longer be a problem. Like they won't be causing problems, like people are for some reason thinking they do. But that isn't reflected in evidence, by the way. That's an important thing to note there. So, the reality of it, though, of supporting someone who's progressive and left, is first of all you have the risk. And the risk is very much that this could also not come true. But when you look at it compared to the far right reality, it's far more favourable. Because even if they don't act on everything that they said they would, there's still some legitimacy here. There's still some credibility, for that matter. So obviously, progressive/left is the obvious choice here. And I haven't even discussed all the other points. Let's say immigration does get properly tackled. Well, they get proper housing and they get proper working pay and stuff, and they get even proper support to do these things, and even like getting taught English as well, because that's also a problem. And we suddenly solve that problem. And it's no longer about living with foreigners who are apparently taking over the country. It's more about living alongside them so that they can fully integrate with our culture. And that's the point of being, I forgot the other term, but equality, inclusive, that's it. It's the point of being inclusive. Because you're not just denying them because of race or circumstance, you're actually accepting them and allowing them to fully join in on the culture, as many immigrants do anyway, which is something that people conveniently ignore and talk about it. And then the other thing is about LGBTQ+, where rights are properly instated, so it's no longer like something that's deemed bad or illegal, can't be associated with anything else, and there will even be proper protections for children in that matter, because the problem with the far right is they don't actually care about protecting children. They either care about lining their pockets with money, or they care about oppressing someone. And at some point children are along those lines in the far right reality, but the left reality, the progressive, that's pretty much non-existent. Unless they've been bought out as well, that's just why I said there's a risk. But the oppression would be far less severe than a far-right government. I think I've pretty much tackled all the points there. But this is just explaining the differences, like the expectation versus reality of these things. And also again the protective rights of people who are even against equality. Because there's more of that on the progressive left than there is on the right. It's not about who you mingle with, who looks more attractive to you, it's about what they're fucking saying, and what they've written in their manifestos as well. That's the important point here. You can't be sacrificing your own rights just because you think someone said something right, when you need to actually look into it, look at what they're actually saying, what they've actually said, and also how it affects the things that you do care about on the side as well. So, I forgot what I was talking about initially. I think it's about like truth and making change. This ironically turns into a political discussion because I think the only way that we can live happily ever after, or just in general, is if people make the change. I think if you're always sort of like voting far right or just believing in what the far right says and then you see the country go to shit, it's time to change. Simple as that. Because that should have demonstrated the problem to you. So now you need to vote someone who's progressive or left-leaning. It's a no-brainer. Honestly, I don't know why this is so hard for people to figure out. So in the political sense, it always comes back to either the progressives or the left-leaning being the more advantageous and certainly the more worthwhile. Like really, that's just absolutely almost just brain deadly simple. And that's the point. And when we think about something like within our own culture and society about discussion of animal rights, again it's important to highlight that fact. The truth of animal agriculture is ugly. The change to address that problem, where it is ugly, is far more convenient and far more tolerable. That's the thing, because if you even don't look at the fact that animal agriculture is just horrific, one of the very things that you can take comfort in, or solace, I think solace is the term, I could be wrong, it's about making the change. So going plant-based, going full plant-based lifestyle, and advocating for animal rights. It's easier to do than watching it, believe it or not, watching all this footage that people have collected over the years of this horrific practice we call animal agriculture. And also at a fundamental level, it sort of turns into that expectation reality thing. The expectation is that animals are treated right, that the use of them is necessary for our survival, and many other things as well in between, I'm sure of it. But the reality isn't that simple. There's a lot of animal abuse, there's a lot of animals put on antibiotics, which creates an antibiotic resistance for humans if you consume their stuff, and it just causes too many problems. Like, it causes illnesses, it causes health problems, it causes environmental destruction, which will also kill us, by the way, more so than the health would. And no doubt it will just cause many ethical concerns as well. But these problems here can literally be solved with simple change of going towards a plant-based lifestyle. And again, you don't even need to know the reality of what goes on in animal agriculture to realise it. You just need to hear what other people are saying here and there, obviously. Also back that up with some reading, some evidence, because it is literally written down in law that they can do certain things to animals. And it doesn't just apply to farm animals either, it's literally the pets, it's literally everything. It doesn't matter to them because it's all about profit. And that's also the reality there. Like, they send the expectation that it's like family run, or if it's like on a field where animals are brought up. But the reality is that it's a completely abusive industry, and they're only seeking to profit and so they wouldn't do that because it doesn't profit them. They have to buy land for the animals to graze, which costs them more money. They have to also spend the money to clean it and make sure it doesn't stink out the world, as it can do. It's just super unrealistic, the thing that they're expecting us to believe. And again, making the change is far easier. So again, I don't know why people are just not either changing their habits or looking at the thing that we're saying. It can only go one of two ways, unfortunately, or both. Anyway, let's move on. I might start making a section where I just make jokes, because I have too many to waste, really. At least when I think of them to begin with. It's hard to put some of them into a series where I can obviously include it. I just come up with a really stupid one, just out of the topic of Jen, with obviously the intro track. What do you need to wear when you listen to Periphery? Gentures. It's stupid, I know, but necessary. Well, I was just reminded of Linus Tactics recently, and I haven't talked about this channel for a while. And obviously, I don't watch it. I stopped watching it quite a while ago now. And yeah, it's a sad story really, because like when I was getting into technology, when I was doing my IT stuff back in college, they called me the IT king. Just kidding. Although I could have probably become one because I had that head start and I was literally best in class somehow. I think best in class anyway. The teachers used to say that I tended to get the work done quicker than everyone else and understood it more, which is fascinating. Yeah, but anyway, like this is like 2013 and I got my own room, I got my own computer. And I was very curious about increasing gaming performance because my computer was absolute shite. It had like a GT, I can't remember the specs, but I think it was like 500 or 600 series. And it was just bad. Ran Minecraft just fine on some mod packs, but eventually I needed a GPU upgrade, which was hard to find because I needed a power supply. And to accommodate the GPU, I decided to get a new PC case for some stupid reason and transfer it into that anyway, but I don't think I needed to. And yeah, it's thanks to Linus Tech Tips that I was able to do that, because that's where I learned everything PC related and essentially practiced it really. It's how I know how to plug in, like, for example, a solid state drive into the SATA ports. Before, like, this is at a point where we didn't really have NVMe SSDs. I feel old saying that. Fuck it hell. So yeah, I've never actually touched NVMe actually. Now my PC was made by another manufacturer because it's like the only way to get a GPU, which is annoying. But it works out anyway because at least I don't have the anxiety of making it. Yeah, so Linus Tech Tips I grew up with, essentially, yeah, into late adulthood, obviously now not late, but, you know, 20s upwards and stuff. And they were quite inspiring. They were doing videos that nobody else was, they were reviewing products that nobody else was. And one of my favourite videos actually by them was probably the oil gaming PC, or the fish tank gaming PC. Which was a fascinating project because even though I thought that would be possible, but it actually is. Basically, they got this fish tank PC and didn't know what to do with it because I think that's the story anyway, and they decided that they wanted to try and make it a real thing. And so they started to make the parts for it and deck it out properly to make it work because it's like water cooled, obviously. And eventually they managed to make it, and it looks amazing. And it's completely submerged under oil because they couldn't get water to work with the components. But they could get the water to work because basically the rule was that they had to have liquids essentially running through the system. So all the components and it's just fascinating that they were able to do that. I think it's still probably their best series. But yeah, I watched them for years after that, and remained a consistent fan of theirs, and eventually around like 2018, I'd say, or 2019, they started to get a bit weird. And this is admittedly where they started to fall, because they were starting to do things on the wine show, and they were talking about weird ass topics on there. Like, not the usual tech stuff that we were used to, and it just sort of went off the rails a bit. That's why I sort of started to notice it sort of falling apart. But then they were getting very official, they're making official, that's probably not the term. Very corporate, I guess, is probably the best term. And they were making new channels. And, you know, some of them I could get behind, others not really. And as a result, because of that split in types of videos, and also where they go, I just wasn't as interested. And then the videos they made on the main channel started to get even more suspicious. We're talking about videos labelled like, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they made this as a title. And the thumbnail doesn't give you any clues either. And to me that was like a red flag. Because we already knew about like clickbait back in 2016, I think, on YouTube, and it was a real problem. And I think it started to get worse around 2018, when it sort of peaked, I think. And it caused way too many issues. Because of this clickbait sort of epidemic on YouTube, because it was so profitable, places like Linus Tech Tips were doing it as well. And essentially I lost my respect of them over the years, because they'd go on this tech fan base basically on honest videos and just well thought out ideas as well, and just showing you all this different tech on top of titling it properly. You know, if I was to go on the channel now and look back in the past, you'd see that. It's quite obvious. You see it's titled better. But then you go on to like a later video, and it's always named something really stupid, and then for some reason I've noticed this as well, they used to do this at a later point. They used to change the name of it from the clickbait to something else. Which is just, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, have one or the other. Suddenly makes me lose respect, because it's like, the fuck are you doing? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But what is the point? Yeah, so immediately they started to make me think like, okay, maybe this isn't the channel for me. And you know, around 2020 and stuff, I just sort of started to fall off, and I found Gamers Nexus eventually through them, thankfully. And Gamers Nexus were really good. I've stuck with them for years now. It's about time I bought merch. I need to look on there actually. I might as well do that. Gamers Nexus. Stop. There we go. Hopefully they'll deliver to the UK at some point, or something like that. Yeah, try and not get something massive, but maybe I should, because there's going to have 8 malls. I don't know. It's something to consider anyway, but yeah. Linus Tech Tips though were just becoming more and more frustrating, because when you looked at things like even the benchmarks, they were not nearly as technical as Gamers Nexus are, who at this point in my sort of stage in tech, essentially the things I need. I need to know the not only like the benchmarks or details, I need to know things like temperature, I need to know things like the fan speed, or even the frame timing. Like, these are some important things for a gaming system. The temperature's really important too, because not everyone can afford the same cooler, and to get one that's closer to that, it's going to be far more beneficial. So yeah, it causes a lot of problems with the fact that Linus Tech Tips dumbed it down so much. And then you look at what they're benchmarking things against, it's like 3080 versus 2060. Huh? Like, what? I get it from like a budget comparison, but then they don't list many other cards. Like, it's like the 3080 versus 2080 versus the 3070 versus the 2060. It's like, it's a mishmash, but in the simplest way possible, which isn't a good thing for gaming benchmarks. Because people are looking at the price ranges of these and thinking, okay, what am I going to afford? What can I afford? And also the latest cards would be more expensive. And people want to know how that compares to an earlier card on the same sort of specs. So when it's revealed that, oh, you've only accounted for some of the recent cards, which they are recent, yeah. Like, let's not forget that 20 series and 30 series are quite close together. But, you know, that's kind of the problem here. And we're talking about that time. And this is when the Scalper Crisis was a thing, if people remember that. But my god, it was a clusterfuck in Linus tech tips, and eventually I just unsubscribed. I was fed up with the clickbait. I was also fed up with these videos where Linus was doing something in his home, just essentially rubbing it in, which it just rubbed me the wrong way, to be honest. I'm not really 100% sure. It's just very strange. Like, I don't understand that shit. Like, because I was going through relationship stuff at that point, not searching for one. It didn't help my mental health either, but the fact that he just always seems to find a way to sort of, I guess, shoehorn his family into somehow his house. It just always sort of rubbed me the wrong way. It doesn't give a homely feeling, it just gives me like a bad feeling. And I do get it in terms of like a sort of review sense. I actually like seeing some of the other employees' houses. When they did this Intel upgrade challenge thing. Also, what the fuck was that about? What is this upgrade challenge thing by Intel? It just stinks of sponsored shit, and we know that Intel isn't the greatest for gaming. It's reliable, yeah. Probably easier to cool down, but people know that AMD is probably better. I'm not fanboying here, just because it's just like going by the benchmarks. It's always AMD that's on top. So yeah, I don't really get what those are about. And sponsors, yes, that's it. That's the other thing. As much as the sponsor segues were a pretty funny gimmick in that, and also something that I could really commend them for, they were just insufferable, the amount there was. So you got one like near the start of the video, which you can always skip. Luckily some were like only a few seconds long, but others weren't. And those others, you have to find a way to fucking skip it. It's just terrible. And then you look at like sort of what they are, and they're not always related to tech, I don't think, if I'm remembering it correctly. And then they have one at the end. And then some videos, they sponsor themselves. Like, what the fuck? Like, that can't be legal, right? Like, it has to be called an advertisement, not a sponsor. It's just strange. So yeah, these strange patterns and behaviours started to make me fall off of it. And I just started to lose it on that. I was just fed up, so obviously I unsubscribed. At some point I came back briefly, so I thought, oh, okay, maybe they fixed the problems, and almost immediately after subscribing I started to clickbait again. Started to make videos where they weren't actually showing the things that are in the thumbnail this time. So it's actually misleading. So they've also had this practice as well going on, which I'm surprised Gamers Nexus didn't catch, because usually they're quite on the ball with that. But maybe it's like a thumbnail title change thing that they keep doing, which again is another shady practice I'm surprised they didn't pick up on. So it's very bizarre. Because of that as well, I started to fall off with them, and one of the biggest nails in the coffin for me around the time that this all went down anyway was basically the allegations put against them by a former employee, And while these aren't strictly the most terrible things to ever happen, I don't think there is like social allegations in that which are horrible. Just to be clear, but it's not as severe as other cases I've seen. And not just in YouTube, but even games, like game development and tech, I think. But the point is, these were really revealing something to me about this place, and it revealed to me that it wasn't actually the right way to do this. You know, this channel was falling apart. Just without a fucking doubt. It was falling apart, and there's just no way to save it. So obviously, I unsubscribed. And the sad thing is that I was also quite rooting for some of the people in there other than Linus, because Linus seems to be one of the people, I'll say, but there are a few, I think, in the group that cause problems. You know, some of his policies, some of his views on things are a bit kind of iffy. He's like very corporate, as people have been pointing out. So it's just falling apart from that point, and I realised like, okay, I don't want to support corporate shit. You know, this is stupid. It just doesn't work. I support professionalism, not corporate. And one of the things that changed that really was HYPERSKY. They do professional stuff in tech, and that's so important. Like, it's crazy how good HYPERSKY are and how much of an influence they've had on the industry in general, at least for consumers, and how much of a voice they have as well. Because, well, like, I think there was even that controversy of like being paid for the RTX 50 was it, or 4050? I can't remember which one it was. There's like a bunch of tech YouTubers bribed for basically giving it a good review and good scores, basically creating dishonesty. And the only places that didn't take that offer, I think, if I'm not mistaken anyway, from what I remember, is like HYPERSKY and only a handful of tech YouTubers. Others just took it. And I think Linus was one of them. Which just really demonstrates the dishonesty of this company. Because where I could respect Linus Tech Tips again is if there's fully upfront honesty and if they take these situations seriously. Because currently the biggest problem is that they're not honest enough, and they're obviously doing all this clickbait shit. Just so many problems. Like, my god. It sort of goes without saying as well. Like, I know a lot of my tech knowledge to Linus, and even some of the things I've been fascinated by, even some of the tech showcases. There's certainly one of the few places that sort of reported on it as well. But they've sort of gone out of fashion because they're just failing to capture audiences. And I saw a video recently by someone in the tech space, I can't remember his name, is saying that it's tied to a lot of what is happening to the Linus Tech Tips, and pretty much reflected a lot of the things I already knew, which is absolutely insane. It doesn't surprise me. And, you know, with a lot of the good employees leaving there, I'm quite glad about that, actually. I think Emily left there as well, because Emily had a lot of fucking talent. Emily was like a big pusher of the Linux OS, if I'm not mistaken. I remember her for that. Yeah, definitely rooted for Emily in a lot of these videos. As did a lot of the fan base, anyway. Yeah, it's a shame what Linus has become. Linus Tech Tips in general. It's just increasingly frustrating. So, I don't know what to say, really. Again, there needs to be a lot of good changes here. It needs to be less corporate, it needs to be more honest, it needs to be more intact with not player base, I keep calling it player base in my mind for some reason, but the fan base, the community, and even the viewers. Because I can guarantee you, if you started listening to them, you'll probably have more views than you used to. And one of the complaints apparently from Linus was that they're not getting as many views now. But they pretty much killed their channel with both the allegations and all this dishonesty, and I'm pretty sure they've responded poorly to tech creators like HYPERSKY about their expose on Linus Detectives. Like, Jesus Christ. To think they were good friends at one point is kind of an ugly situation. It's just insane. Yeah, it kind of sucks. Yeah, that's really all I can say about this. And I'm just glad I'm not watching it anymore, to be honest. I need more time to get into like gaming videos now, and I rely on like Gamers Nexus for the hardware. I did try like Jay's 2 cents for a while, but I sort of fell off that, to be honest. The guy also is a bit like Linus in a sense, has weird fucking views on things here and there. So I'm not entirely sure. I did used to enjoy his videos as well, that's an interesting thing. I'm pretty sure we went the clickbait route as well. So that was another thing. Anyway, let's move on from this topic. So I didn't expect to talk about this, but for some reason Sky News were interviewing people in this TikTok short I'm listening to, and asking if they would fight for their country, or die for their country rather. And they're asking these Gen Z protesters, I think they're Gen Z protesters, I could be wrong. Yeah, pretty much the same response as me, not surprising. You know, there's bigger problems for some reason. They left out some of the important details of it. It's just a bit weird, a bit biased, I guess. So maybe been bought off by Big Russia somehow at Sky. But it's just so strange to me that despite all this lack of enthusiasm for fighting for a country, people, especially like billionaires, people in these, I don't know, like the top 1% or whatever you call it, they're just completely fucking everyone over. Like, if I look at the UK, for example, and if we want to fight for our country, if we ever go to war with anyone, not just Russia, but anyone, like, no, most people will say no. The people who are anti-immigrant will say no, and the people who are like pro-immigrant will also say no, because nobody's fucking happy here. The UK is a miserable place, despite what people say about it. And yeah, there could be things that are much worse, and they could get worse with things like reform. But people need to understand that nobody wants to fight for a country where it's being bought out by corrupt politicians and billionaires. That's just not worth fighting for. You know, when it comes down to it as well, like if you go and send people to a war, if you force them to do it, they're not going to fight back. They're just going to surrender the moment they get into the fucking battlefield. And you've already sort of seen this in like the Russia versus Ukraine conflict. And it's unfortunate if they don't even take prisoners, because then you're just fucked anyway. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So it's like, what's the point? Nobody fucking wins here, and there's no guarantee either. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, I forgot where I was, but because I had to go for a toilet break. But I think I'll start with this other thing I thought about, because we're already at war. A lot of people don't realise this, but there's already a war happening within countries themselves. And that is simply the war of the young people versus the billionaires. Because there are too many people who are in their like late 30s, mid 40s, or even just late 60s and 70s, who are just fine with billionaires treading all over everyone, even if it treads over them. And we're currently facing this war against billionaires who seek to do that to us, to everyone. And that is currently our biggest war that we're fighting for survival in. I don't know why many people don't realise this, but every time we wake up and we do our routine, I do like YouTube and check emails and Reddit and TikTok, and yeah, I got my own routine. But a lot of this, I guess, is deeply rooted in capitalism, believe it or not. You're just forced to. You need emails to check if something's being delivered or if you've been scammed or something. Like, there's so many fucking issues with the world as it is currently that you really cannot skimp over it. And our lives are so ingrained into technology because of the fact that one, it's getting cheaper, and two, people rely on it now. But billionaires want to fuck us over with that. They want to remove that from us. They want to make us suffer. And that's why it's our biggest war. They want to compromise every single fucking aspect of our life. And I saw recently from a Dolan, I can't remember his last name, sorry, their last name. But he's like a not sort of a drama YouTuber, but sort of in between. Basically reports on stories that come out of like Reddit and stuff, and even Twitch in some cases. But Most Critical actually reports on his videos as well. It's like a sort of tangent thing, I guess. But there was a recent post about, on Reddit actually, of someone taking a post from someone else, complaining about the fact that their smart fridge has advertisements on it now. And the post was basically saying, like, my schizophrenic sister saw this and hospitalised herself. It's like, what? What the fuck? Like, is this really what's going to happen? Because even though it's not a true story, it could very much happen. It's not impossible. And that could happen to anyone. That's why this sort of thing is dangerous. That's why advertising is dangerous, and in a sense even the advertisers are definitely should be held accountable for this, because looking at the type of ad it was, it's advertising a TV show on ITV, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Apple TV. They should be held accountable too. Not just the fact that there's a smart fridge with advertisements on it, but the fact there's literal fucking advertisements saying things like, "Oh, hi Carl, we know what you did." And that's gonna fucking terrify people and hospitalise them. It's just gonna cause too many problems. So you don't want something like this, and this is why I say we're already at war with too many fucking people. Too many people with power that they don't deserve. I'm saying that's the billionaires. They're the people with this power that they do not deserve. So of course it's really fucking deadly, and nobody wants a part of it. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm just baffled by the fact that people aren't looking at this and saying, oh, well, this is the problem, isn't it? But no, instead people are blaming it on immigrants. People are blaming it on, like, other things. I'm trying to think what the other things are. And the US, I guess, it's like they blame the cost of living on Democrats to an extent, even though that's not actually who caused it. It's actually Trump. There's just always these sort of internal wars, and then it leads to the question, which I think is really important as well. What would make you fight and die for your country? I think this is like the most important question to ask when considering this very fact, when you're putting your life on the line. And I think it's kind of easy to answer. Simply put, it wants to be, well, the country has to be a place I'm proud and happy to live in. Easy. There's your answer. If you want to defend the country, you have to put things in place that make it so. And, you know, judging by something like Zach Bansky's leadership in the UK, specifically, if he can put things in place and also do a little more that can even support my life, for that matter, people I know, for that matter as well, then it could be a country that I'm happy to fight and die for, literally. You know, even though I'm not going to go into the military and just learn everything there is to know, I'll definitely pick up some techniques and figure out how to sort of address the problems that are coming to our way. You know, look a bit more into tech, look into like hacking things, you know, some things like that, because they'll come in useful. And when I say hacking, I mean like the enemy's military equipment and also vulnerabilities in our own, because that's also a big problem, because we're so reliant on technology. To understand it is important, and I'll definitely set aside time in my day to literally practice that and apply it, because you need to apply it to get it to work, to make sure it works. So you know, that's how I'll defend the country. That's my specialty. And also I'd obviously get things like backup power and whatnot, you know. Yeah, but like to go into specifics, which is a bit more complicated, I think in order for me to be happy and be proud of the country, I suppose I'd have to be in a place that I'd like to live in, because at the moment this place isn't great, neither is my last place. I just find myself struggling on a daily basis and I really need to move. I can't do that without the support, I can't do it without the money. There's just no way that I can do that realistically in this current scenario. And it's because of capitalism, again, the billionaires, the conservatives, that are not able to. And so long as conservatives get in, which reform is, by the way, stop being fucking stupid, literally they'll make my situation even worse. I might not even be in this place when they get in. Like, you never know, it's dangerous as fuck. So yeah, like, other than getting into a house that's quiet and sort of in a nice place anyway, like I wouldn't mind a nice view, nicest one. You can't go wrong with it. Actually then again, maybe not, because it depends really, like, in the ideal world, because I think of like countrysides, but then I realise that you see farm animals, which will make me sad, because you know they're going to die sometime, quite young as well, because that's how it's done. But also there's the worry of like these fucking fox hunters, like absolute dickheads. Yeah, they should be hunters really. They should be the other way around. Yeah, but you know, in an ideal world, that wouldn't exist. You know, if the government actually did things properly, if police actually did things properly, those people would be arrested. But no, they don't do anything. They just let them free. A slap on the wrist, that's it. That's how corrupt it is. I'm trying to think what the other things are. I guess a decent enough sort of living situation, financial situation, I guess. At the moment, I'm barely able to afford things that could benefit me. Because I'm like scraping the bottom of the barrel constantly with my money. Because I have to buy things that are essentials, and then I have to buy things like food. There's already money going towards rent, which I can't control, by the way. It's not done by me. And then looking at like the things in my shopping and payments I have to make because of like buying a custom guitar, which costs a lot of money, believe it or not. And the custom guitar has to my specs, so it serves to help me in my hobbies. So yeah, a good financial living situation sort of thing would certainly help. But also I suppose it ties into another thing I talked about, which is the sort of £1 billion rather, the idea that you can make housing specifically for people with specific needs. And I'm talking about getting rid of this stupid regulation of what a house should be and designing it so that certain people can live in a house that's comfortable and safe for them. And not to mention, probably the best possible case for some families as well. So I was talking about like a 3-story house or 2-story maybe, where people can live in these like vertical houses where at the bottom you've got like a garage for your car, so it's obviously safe from many things. And then top you got like a living room and a kitchen, which is generally fine, I think. And then above that you got the bathroom and bedroom. And it's just like a one-person house. Doesn't seem that expensive to build, and it doesn't seem that sort of... I don't know what the standards are for that. But I really don't think that there's any issues with it structurally. Because all that can be solved with good engineering. As it has been anyway. Like, you've got fucking skyscrapers, and you're telling me you can't build a house that's like shorter than that? Are you kidding me? So yeah, something like that would be beneficial. Anyway, I think I need to move on this topic because I've got another one to talk about. And I think this is interesting as well. It's kind of a fun one, so stick around for that if you're interested. Talk about pastime, I guess. But I only realised this when I was watching the Jingle Professional Strem from 2025, obviously. Just yesterday for me. The fuck is that noise outside? I swear people just don't give a shit. It's really fucking weird. I guess I'll talk about... No, I won't talk about anything actually. It's about... the lighting in Kirsty's room, which was an office room technically. It's just so interesting, because I can't even remember the last time I used a ceiling light. That's one of the interesting things about it. Because I don't like ceiling lights. I don't know if many people know that, but I just find them really uncomfortable. It's like walking into the doctor's room, and I think that's probably why. It's just like, it causes a massive amount of sensory discomfort. And I still can't really put my finger on why that is. It just doesn't feel right to me when I have it on. And when I even use it for finding something on the floor that I dropped or something like that, it still feels really uncomfortable. And whenever I had it on, I've just been like, okay, I can't wait to get this off. Then when I moved to what I have on the side, which is like a lamp, like a room lamp, it's like a proper one. Unfortunately some of them aren't, but this one is. I get like a more comforting warm light, and that's far more favourable. It's actually so nice to have a warm light in the room, and I think people really underestimate how good that is. I sort of remember when I was living in my second last house, and I was walking to the living room, and it's like at night, and it was only like the room lamp on it. It's like, this is kind of nice, kind of cozy. And I compare that to my ceiling light in my room. I was kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna get that. There's no fucking point in having a ceiling light anymore. Not only is it probably more efficient to get a room light, a room lamp rather, it's probably more convenient as well, and it was. I started with a small lamp at first because I only wanted something for my bedside table, but if it lit up the room that'd be a bonus, but it was also too dim, I think, because it's just like a table lamp. It wasn't anything special. So the convenience sake of it was actually good. You only had to touch the base of it, and you had different sort of modes. Eventually it stopped working within the bulb went, and then I just thought that, you know what, fuck this. I don't want to replace the bulbs in this because it's too hard to find a bulb that actually worked. And yeah, while they did work, they had a noise issue with them, so it's like, oh, you know what, fuck this. So what I ended up doing instead was finding a room lamp. And the first one I found is pretty much the one I still have now. It's like a cylindrical thing, has a square base, and it sits pretty much anywhere, speaking of which, it is sitting on my table, because I used to have it between like the the bedside table and the bed, and it's always next to my bed because I need some light to read. But it's always served me well. And the only issue is the settings on it are a bit awful, because if you hit the wrong button, it resets every fucking thing. It's annoying. Like if you put it on the sort of night mode, it'll reset the lighting settings, which is so annoying because you have a warm and a bright setting. Also having it on warm, it's like an orangey sort of glow. And if you do the night light, it'll reset it to the bright one, but a dimmer thing, which is weird. It also has a timer. It's generally served me really well. But it's got me really interested in sort of the entire situation with that, like lamps in general. And even though I got this thing over, what, 5 or 6 years ago, not the meme number, very close though, I did search for a secondary one, and this other one is actually really cool. Sort of like 3 lamps as backup on rather, that you can turn, and it's like 3 small lamps, so it looks pretty interesting. Also, I know that it would be pretty handy as well, because I can have one dangling over my bed to read, one dangling in the corner, and just one being there. And it can also be placed like anywhere. And that's the interesting thing with that. You could place it in a different place than you used to. But it's definitely an interesting sort of find to discover these things. It's not like any other lamp out there, actually. It's not a spotlight lamp, just to be clear. But technically that could help. It could work even. It's just like hanging lamps, which honestly gives me a fantasy feel. Just gives me a vibe to it. Let's see, how many settings does it have? I don't remember looking at this. Yeah, same settings, but it seems like it could save modes, is it? That's 1, 2, 3. Oh, turn on individual lights. Oh, I see. That's actually pretty cool. I don't know why image. Oh yeah, that's actually the real image. Okay. Sometimes I use Photoshop and this shit. It just looks really stupid. I don't know why they do it. Yeah. You can actually tell it's actually real photos, and this is just crazy. What the fuck? I'd say like over half of these are real photos. That's insane. Yeah, that's a discussion about ceiling lights. I'm curious if anyone else uses them anymore. I'm pretty sure people favour lamps now. They're just better, they're cozier. Probably more energy efficient as well, now I think about it. But probably easier to maintain as well for like LEDs, and yeah. Anyway, let's move on from that, I've got shit to do. And that's something I just realised about movie reviews, and this reveals a massive consistency issue, I believe. Movies aren't rated based on your enjoyment or even, well, just the movies itself, like the story, or even just the franchise. But it's rather based on logic. Because I sat down and thought about this, and this goes for anything really, to be honest. It's not just movies, it's games, it's TV, it's even books to an extent. But I think our enjoyment varies based on how ignorant we are. And this is important to note, because the more ignorant we are about these things that we obviously indulge in for entertainment, the better it seems. Which is just such a strange idea to me, because I used to think that movies being logically flawed, and this is why I don't like cinema, since it's just something that just makes it bad. But in reality, it is something that almost doesn't matter, because the more ignorant you are on this sort of thing, the better it becomes. And I didn't realise how true this was until recently. It really seems that way. I just find that it's it's weird how I can watch certain shows and somehow, even though they're rated quite low, people just seem to dislike them. Like, seem to dislike it, and then I'm like, well, I like it. I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this series, like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, for example, which got a 6.9, I believe, or 7, was actually pretty good. But I've probably not seen the things that others have in it, where it's like, I don't know, maybe not enough tail screen time. Let's be honest, it's not enough. Maybe there's like logical inconsistencies, there's a lack of explanation as to like Gerald Robotnik, and it's just so many weird things I think I probably missed that others have seen. And again, this sort of ties into the ignorance is bliss sort of argument too. And it very much applies here. Because something that's quite flawed, like the Sonic movies, which they are, to be very clear. Well, they all are. They have some problems. Like the third one has the least amount of problems, in my opinion. But I think it should really go without saying that, based on the logic, it matters. And that matters in terms of how you enjoy it and how you review it. Because I think certain people will obviously think like, oh yeah, let's not criticise something like the fantasy aspects, but some will. You know, you go into a movie, let's say Star Wars, because I don't want to use Harry Potter as an example, it's fucking awful. It is one of the worst movies series I've ever seen, and also it's written by J.K. Rowling, who is a cunt, so yeah. But Star Wars is probably a better example of like fantasy, because there is like magical elements to it, even though it's a sci-fi sort of futuristic thing. And what's so fascinating about this, I suppose, it's just when you look at the logic of it, the fantasy elements, the lightsaber, the force, it doesn't make any sense. So I think when we're looking at things like that, some people will just think, oh yeah, that's cool actually, I like the force, it's neat. I'm probably one of those. But then there are other people who are like, oh, you know, this is fucking awful. This doesn't make any sense. So it just kind of fucks up, I guess, for some people and not others, which is weird. But then it sort of reminds me of Black Mirror, because when I was looking through the IMDb pages, there was not a single episode above a 9. Let me double check that on IMDb. Black Mirror episodes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the only one that was higher than the others was season 2 episode 4, which was White Christmas, and yeah, that was good. Yeah, 9.1 that was. None of them above a 9, except for that one. And then the other one was Hang the DJ, which I didn't think was great. It was good, but it wasn't great. San Junipero, I definitely liked. That's certainly above an 8 for me. But then I'm just wondering what goes through people's minds to make these a lower rated episode. Like, how do I view the grid view of this? There used to be a grid view of this rating system. It's just episode this, maybe it's there. No, I thought I found it, and that's not there. Alright, thanks. Fucking. Where did that go? There was like a grid of the episode ratings. It's just weird. Oh. No, I can't find it, but that's the thing that there are so much varying like episodes on this that is kind of crazy to look at. And oh, there it is. I think I found it. The IMDb rating button. Yeah, it's like they're so varied. You got some at 7.6, which some didn't deserve it, to be honest. The first one, definitely. Episode 3, I think, was that other one. Yep, I certainly deserved it. Episode 4 in season 6, yep, that was awful. It's so fucking bad, even though it had a dystopian element. It just wasn't good. I hated it. So yeah. do think it does impact it, and for the people who watch this series, thinking that they're going to see like a dystopia or something like sci-fi, they get disappointed when they don't see it. And their logic just runs wild on this, because literally that's what happens. People are limited to their own knowledge and their own understanding of things. So when you present an episode like Black Mirror, or like for example the one I made up, a custom episode, fan episode idea rather, but an idea. But one about corporate revenge, where the corporations are so mad at people who are vegan and plant-based that they make everything about meat and animal products. So they make the world a worse place and make it unhealthy. And there are so many consequences to that. I even included climate change, because that's a big factor in this, like mass extinctions, temperature increasing, floods, severe weather storms. Like I've given the severe weather storms like a star rating in this, because literally that's what it can go towards. And the star rating obviously means it's more severe, maybe not a star but score rating. I should have probably done. Just how deadly it is, because it's so normal to see a red weather warning in this episode that it is literally dangerous, and so they need that multiple sort of the skull rating to basically rate it, to show you how dangerous it is, like certain death versus chance of death versus some death. Like, it's literally like that. And people will look at that episode idea and think like, what the fuck are you on about? This doesn't make any sense. And they're going to rate it poorly. I sort of predict that if it does become an episode. But that's the thing. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's going to be wrong. It's going to not be true. There's very much could be a real thing. It's not impossible, but this is all tackling the idea of like plant-based labels being banned, being a sort of pillar for a pillar being knocked out for this thing to just get so out of hand, so dangerous. Like, it's just allowing them and enabling them to do this sort of thing, and as I said, enact revenge, and they'll buy out governments, they'll corrupt the government so much that they control the narrative, they control the media, they control every fucking element of your life. It's so bad that you've got surveillance as well as AI running companies that they can't hire people to do because it's too morally corrupt. And you've even got a case where they turn humans, dogs and cats into meat. Although cats and dogs are harder to find because they've suffered with climate change and most of them have died off. Again, people might not understand the episode idea, but that's kind of down to you, I think. I've tried to explain it in this episode, and yeah, people are going to poke holes in it just because either they don't like the idea, they don't think that this could happen, or what. Like, there's many different reasons why. You know, personal feelings on this sort of thing can definitely influence it. Like, people see some of the episodes, I guess, in Black Mirror, like Hotel Reverie, for example. Some of them probably thought that making it woke made it a dystopia, when that actually wasn't the issue. In fact, that made it better, and that was very much shown in the episode, but that conflict there probably reflects on me, because I don't find there's any issue with that. For me, the issue is that they've transported an AI into the... Did I say it's the episode Hotel Reverie? If I haven't noticed, but yeah, basically the issue is that they've transported a sort of AI version of someone into the simulation to recreate the film, and the biggest issue with the episode as well is that they recreated it in the same way as the old film, like black and white, 4:3 aspect ratio. I don't know why they didn't make it up to date. It's just weird. Other than the sort of lesbian couple, obviously. It's just so weird, and the issues that people took with it was the actor. I remember looking at these reviews and thinking, what the fuck are you on about? This actor is fine. Like, she's doing great at it. Are you kidding me? Like, admittedly, I'm not an acting sort of person. I don't focus on that myself. I know when there's bad acting, I can hear it. And I can see it where it is possible to see it. But for someone like this, and in this series as well, portraying a different character who doesn't have to be a loud fucking mouth, who doesn't have to be extroverted, it's just being criticised for playing a role. And I sense there's like a deep-rooted racism here, because that's what seems to be the case with the people who reviewed this. It doesn't seem to be logical in any way. And they can't even point to specific examples as well, which also proves further that it's not to do with the acting. Because you have to back this up, and I've already backed up my point. I've said she's playing the character she's intended to play there. So that's why it's just so nuts to me. This is why reviews vary so much, and why they're not exactly a good system. It's why I've encouraged for every single fucking aspect of entertainment and artistry, for that matter, I describe the experience, not give it a number. And further, every fucking time this comes up, I'm constantly reminded that ratings don't matter at all. Now, when something's overwhelmingly negative, that's probably a bad sign, but when something's positive, you need to be careful, because it's not always a positive experience. At least for the non-average person like me. I'm not average. But Jesus Christ, it is crazy. So yeah, that's that discussion. I need to focus away and focus on the poker stream I'm watching, Yogscast Jingle. And I will make a clip in the podcast, or section rather, talking about the streams, what I thought about them. Yeah, Jingle Jam is the best. Honestly, it's one of the best parts of the year. Just undeniably so much laughing, so much charity. It's great. Anyway, let's move on. So I've got a weird fucking topic, and it's only sort of realised the other day. It's like, I've gotten so used to certain things in my life that I don't really feel anything about, well, the things that should be happening. I'm talking about something like, I don't know, fear or jump scares rather. It's like so fucking weird, but I'm at this point in my life at 28 years old, I'm realising that nothing really scares me anymore. Well, the future does, but that's like another thing entirely. But I'm talking about when something physically scares you. I was thinking about this the other day when I was around someone's house, and you know, there's always loud noises and stuff, but even though that's overwhelming as fuck, it doesn't make me jump anymore. Even people making car noises, like car horns, even just beeping in the street when I'm going down there, it just doesn't bother me. I just sit there blankly, and it doesn't cause any issues. Other than sensory issues, but I just don't get made jump. And I'm starting to realise that I'm getting a bit stronger in that sense, I think. There's not really like a, I don't know what to call this exactly, but I think it's like being dadified or something. I think that's probably what's happening. Like, I can't find a word for it, or term. It's like, I was thinking about this the other day, the other thing is it's not just jump scares, it's also things that are very much not jump scares, but rather things that can happen. I was like sitting in the doctor's the other day, and it's annoying as fuck with this guy behind just coughing, which you can't really control, to be fair, so it's not massively an issue, but it's also just, I think, being quite noisy, moving his like shoes which squeaked, and yeah. And I was thinking like as well, because he might have thought it was awkward that I was like with my back facing him because of being at the front of the waiting room. There was only me and him in there. I was thinking like, what would happen if someone like him decides to try and sort of pick a fight on me? And I realised that actually I don't think anyone stands a chance, because at that moment I was like assessing if I was anxious or even scared of the idea, and I wasn't. That's the crazy thing. I'm starting to go out into public now and not really be afraid of that sort of thing, like, at all. I don't know if it's because I've got increased like testosterone or something. I certainly think that's an element to it, because I don't know, with my weirdness in sort of hypersexuality and stuff, if it's sort of peaking for some reason now, full times, I think that's probably contributed to it, so I don't exactly experience like fear and anxiety the same way others do. So I'm just ending up sitting there thinking, oh, if someone wants to fight, I don't care. I could beat them. I'm pretty sure I can anyway. I've got the attention span to do it, even with ADHD. You know, I can even adapt as well. That's one of the things I've noticed about living through life in general. I can adapt to some things. I can repair some things. I can even prepare myself for like some of the bigger issues. And because of that, I'm essentially doing somewhat well with that, I think. I can control myself, I can predict things even. The crazy thing with my prediction, I like to call it observation Haki actually, after One Piece. I can sort of predict when shit like that is going to sort of happen. It's weird, I was watching the Yogscast Jingle recently, watching the Professional Strem, and there was a tiebreaker question at the end, which was, a spoiler, but when was the first James Bond movie released? And me having never seen a James Bond movie or even looked into it, I just randomly predicted and got this gut feeling it was like 60s, and then I thought maybe I should predict like mid 60s, and I said like 1965 in my head. And sort of waiting for the answer, it took a few minutes because everyone was thinking. And then it said it was released in 1965. I thought, what? What the fuck? And I've had strange coincidences as well over the past month, actually. So many strange things happen where I say something or think something, and then the thing that I'm watching just says that same thing. It's just weird. It's like a very niche thing as well. Like, it's so bizarre. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that. So I don't know, I think to an extent I have literally mastered observation Haki. It's kind of crazy to say, but I think I have. It's a weird thing as well, because I've also had this since early adulthood. Whenever I was carrying things, just in general, like, I don't know, a package or like sometimes just food or even drink or something like that. Like, or just a pile of things, rather. That's probably the better one. And, you know, I'm not concentrating on the things I'm holding. Maybe I'm feeling the weight of it. But sometimes something would fall off, and instinctively, I'll just be able to grab it. I wouldn't even know that it had fallen. I'll just be able to grab it without knowing. It's like, what the fuck? How the hell am I even doing it? I don't understand it. It's so fucking bizarre. Yeah, I don't know what that is, and I will say I've seen other people with the same ability. I was watching this short video of somebody's in a family recording their kid. Well, actually it's kind of normal because the kid is a baby and just still enjoying their life. And I'll see the father's there and sort of enjoying spending time with the child, and I'll see the child walks off and does her own thing. And then is about to have a fall. And the father just like throws a cushion like right behind where the child is about to fall and perfectly like saves her from falling, let alone disaster. It's like, okay, that's what I have. That's what's fucking happening to me. I can predict that sort of thing as well. That's a weird thing. It's weird how similar that is. And I'm pretty sure I've had it with other things as well, like catching things and... Yeah, I don't know what to describe it as, it's so bizarre. Just what a fucking crazy ability on top of losing the ability to just be scared of things or even fear things. Again, I don't know what the hell this is. Anyway, I think I better move on. I've got so many things to do today, all things. So I think it'd be easier to make my Yogscast Jingle Jam stream so far of week 1 and then week 2 after that. And I'll leave these in the description if I can remember. Anyway, I also want to talk about the streams that I really enjoyed this week. And yeah, I love these streams. They're honestly some of the best now. They're more on time now as well, I noticed, which is really interesting. It's quite fascinating really, because they never used to be, and they're also finishing at reasonable times for the most part. I think the only stream that didn't was Professional, and that went into like midnight, and by that time I had to go to sleep because I was too tired. Anyway, let's start with day 1, the streams that I liked. Tom and Ben warm up. Ooh. And you can expect some banger in that. It's definitely enjoyable, some chats, some clips as well. And then it was Jingle Cats. Jingle Cats this year were good. I don't think anything stood out exactly. There's definitely a lot of things that were entertaining. I did like the cool Sips thing, and then the role reversal when Sips hit a fucking goal on his fundraiser. Like the reverse card rather. That was amazing. I love that. Well, I forgot to say about spoilers, but anyway. Open DTD was actually really fucking good. I love that twist at the end. That was brilliant. I didn't expect it. And also the fucking birthday card? No, Christmas card, not birthday card. That was so fucking good. Yeah, day 1 for the bangers. Day 2, Briony and Kirsty, Wizard Warriors. This is just quite fun in general because the two together make a great dynamic duo. And there were some entertaining moments in the stream for sure. After that, it was Tabs. Absolute cinema with the intro. It definitely wasn't something I was expecting, but I loved it anyway. There were a lot of people on Twitch trying to watch it being a bit fucking grinchy. And also they weren't like grossy. But yeah, they're being massive grinches and saying, oh, where's Tabs? Where's Tabs? Like, fucking wait. Come on. It's just so ridiculous, the reaction to that. Anyway, it was good, so I liked it. Next stream that's really good is Olde Feed Cowe For Christmas. Yes, this was excellent. I really enjoyed this one too, because it's just entertaining. I don't really like farming sim, to be honest. But I do like the ideas that they get from this, and also just the jankiness of the games themselves can be quite hilarious. Yeah, there's definitely some moments in that were entertaining, and also Dent Corn. I forgot about that from the Tab stream. Yeah, certainly some moments in that. Day 3, Festivus Maximus with Alex and Ben. Surprisingly, let's call it like an underground hit, underground banger. It's actually really fun. I didn't expect it to be anything special, but actually it was pretty good. You know, because Alex typically dabbles in tabletop games, as does Alex every now and then. People were asked to bring in their mascots for this game, which ended up being very interesting. I think Bobas were the most sort of, well, I guess goony. I don't know what to call it, because this is the York Goon Squad after all. And the Hatfields music stream later, which was absolute cinema. It was so fucking good. All the songs were good. I love the use of the cat piano in the first song, Cats in the Jungle. I like the Toby song, which is fucking amazing as someone who grew up with essentially house music. Yeah, that's definitely a good sounding one too, but I just love the fucking lyrics in that as well. Just absolute genius. Brilliant. It's Bully in the Pulpit. It's just... oh. And then Paul Hollywood as well. Where's Maryberry? She's dead. Oof. Yeah, I fucking love that stream. And day 4, Sweaty Shooters was very entertaining. Got your usual cast, Zips, Bank Pubes, G, Brabs and the Britain this time. They're playing Marvel Rivals. It's definitely entertaining. And then it was On The Clocktower, my fucking god. This stream, I'm laughing thinking about it. It literally brought me to tears and my face fucking hurt by the end. It was so good. Lewis's comment on Zionist dogs just fucking peak Lewis. It was so good. It just got even more fucking just nuts later on. It was so funny. I said here I was going red. And some of the things that came up later were actually brilliant. Such a good fucking stream. And also chat was going mad at how bad the games were too, because they were pretty bad. Oh my god. That was just so good. Then day 5. Simpson Spelunking, worth it for the challenges at least. I thought it was entertaining. I did like the train bit. That was quite entertaining. See what happened there. Bottom videos with Simon and Friends. Now actually I have a controversial take with these, and I don't think they're always that good. I think there's problems with them, as there are some with these ones this year, but it's less controversial this year, I'd say. So I'd say it's, for the most part, it's kind of safe. You still got the odd edgy bit of humour here. I think there's a 9/11 one as well. I think you've got animal videos which have varying degrees of controversy because of the nature of them, because you never know what they're like, but at the same time you do know some of these things. Like, for example, like I think there's one with people at the zoo, and obviously zoos are fucking horrible. They're horrific to animals and horrific for animals for that matter. So yeah, obviously be aware of that sort of thing, but it's still worth a watch. And then Civ 5 on the 5th. What a fucking stream. Again, it's just constant memes, and it's just insanely funny at times. I think my favourite joke from it was probably the Google one. I won't spoil what it is, but you'll see what I mean. It's just so good. Then day 6, there wasn't really much going on in the morning, to me anyway, in the afternoon, but Dr. Simon Cox's Countjam was a disaster, and it was funny for that. It was pretty damn good. It spawned a few memes, and definitely got quite a lot of laughs out of me, because of just how goofy it was. Like the fucking things they put in, and just the gimmicks as well. Just absolutely chaotic. And also some of the numbers they chose, obviously. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, very good stream. And then the Professional Strem was actually pretty good, and the ending was pretty good too. The ending is definitely worth watching if you're not even interested in the stream. I'd say like the last 25 minutes, I'd say, because it does go on a bit. Yeah, definitely worth it. And then day 7, finally, this is yesterday. I was making this. Pre-poker party games was quite entertaining. But Poker Revamped was actually really good. And I wrote here some things about it, because there was some really fucking good memes from this, and I'm not spoiling it because it's so fucking good. You need to just watch it yourself, the whole 6 hours, 7 hours rather. Yeah, and I sort of predicted that Bedgrin would be in that costume. I won't spoil what it is, but he's been talking about that series for a while. I was watching his subathon earlier this year, and I sort of had a gut feeling if he ever went to poker, he'd go in that costume, and he did. Not surprising, he fucking rocked it as well. Like the costume, I mean, it was so fucking good. It's probably my favourite costume on the lot, actually, to be fair. It's like a good quality, it's just entertaining. Yeah, the fucking commented in the interview, you want to touch my cup? Just Fucking hell. Anyway, that's week 1 of Jingle Jam streams. Yeah, I do strongly recommend these. They're just so entertaining every year without fail. It just leaves me with a massive appreciation and respect for what they're doing and also what they're doing for charity. And obviously, if you haven't already, donate to the Tiltify collection for Jingle Jam 2025 and you'll get free games. It's just amazing. Of course, yeah, those are my streams for week 1. So, I've thought about something else. Very random, very weird, but possibly viable. Because I've realised this again, realising something else. And I'm talking about something like Windows 11, or Microsoft's apparently next operating system for Xbox. And it's got me worried because obviously this shit is just frustrating. Like, there's no reason to force Windows on people, but there's also no reason to force AI onto them and all these random features that nobody asked for. And it could be easily resolved if you just allow people to disable these things. Like, you know, pick and choose what they can have in an operating system for that matter. But they don't do that. And I really think at this point, for a service like this, and for even other services, I think there should be fines for specifically the people at the top, people who are obviously getting the money. So not only should we be taxing them like the billionaires, we should be also fining them for completely fucking over a company based on what investors and shares, other than actually fucking giving a shit about the company. Like, seriously, nobody's been punished for this, and that's what's crazy to me. There's no punishment for fucking over everyone, for causing absolute disruption with the case of, like, Windows 10 being obsolete. Like, even though Windows 11 for me personally is okay, it's not great, but it's okay. For everyone else, it's going to be so bad. It depends really on who the person is. And there should be an obligation to allow for not only transparency but accessibility for a service that's been running for fucking years now. Like, what, since 1995? How long has Windows been around? Look that up. How long has Windows existed? 1985, Jesus. So Windows 1. Yeah. Like, that's nuts. And yet, despite them being around for this long, they don't seem to give a shit about making it a good thing. They don't seem to give a shit about making it work. So, yeah, like, it just goes to show that something needs to be done about this in terms of politics, and something needs to happen so that this shit stops happening. Because at the moment it's so much of an issue that I don't see enough people talking about it, not even in politics. And people in politics, who by the way are usually older people, by the way, they should give a shit. Like, it's a fucking no-brainer to even pay attention to this as a politician, because guess what? It will affect them down the line. So they need to start caring about this. And that's why they need to start putting in laws that punish companies with billion-dollar profits for making a terrible product, because they don't earn that money. They take it, they steal it from people, they steal it from unsuspecting customers, they scam them. There's just so many fucking issues with this. Like, Jesus Christ, fix this shit, please, politicians. Oh, I'm gonna make an outro for this podcast episode because it's gone on for a while. Yeah, what did we even have in this one? We had gent music, possibly introducing jokes. Yeah, there's quite a few things in here, some controversial, some maybe not. Anyway, thanks for listening. Let's see everyone another time, possibly.